From the floor of Venture Atlanta, where it is buzzing again. We're here at the Atlanta Innovation Studio, powered by MailChimp with Kathryn O'Day of Atlanta Ventures.
Hello, Alex. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. And so how long have you been with Atlanta Ventures officially now?
So I've been with Atlanta Ventures officially 6 months.
Yeah.
Unofficially over a decade, because that's how long I've worked in the ecosystem with Atlanta Ventures companies.
So talk about the ecosystem then. That's a great sense. You've seen it, I mean, from the ground floor essentially. Let's talk about this evolution over the last decade.
It has been amazing to watch. So for example, when I started at Pardot, there were few to no co-working spaces for tech companies here in Atlanta. And so we actually subleased the MTV office in Buckhead.
Wow. I did not know that. That's cool.
So when that was the impetus to start the Atlanta Tech Village, because if you were an entrepreneur and you wanted an office space, you were trying to be scrappy, a month-to-month contract, you needed internet or snacks, like where could you go to get that? And the Atlanta Tech Village was a space where you could do that. And then now it's grown to 900 entrepreneurs, 300 companies. And so it's been just that piece alone of startups getting office space has been amazing to see.
Right. Oh, that's pretty. And so did you foresee this explosion now that we're having in terms of unicorns like every other day and all this stuff? I mean, because some of these companies, there was because obviously you've been working with David Cummings. I mean, we had a panel of unicorns, and they said we were at a table with David like 10 years ago, and look at us now. I mean, did you kind of foresee all this?
Well, I looked into my crystal ball, and I was like, I see 100 unicorns coming to Atlanta. So what I saw was investment into entrepreneurs early on, and it starts. A unicorn takes 10 years to build. Sometimes a little faster, a little bit slower.
People think it's like an overnight thing, but it's not.
An overnight 10-year success.
Right.
And so what I saw was entrepreneurs starting, investors putting in seed money, more investors coming to Atlanta, and that was being planted 5-10 years ago, and now you're seeing the fully grown unicorns.
Right.
And what's cool is if this is happening now, imagine what happens 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's going to be 10x
amazing.
This.
Well, and part of this, I think what's exciting too, is the kind of intentional inclusion that we're driving here in Atlanta too. And I'm thinking even on the venture side, I mean, the stats in terms of the number of women in venture is not real big, and so how is that for you in terms of being a woman in venture capital? How are you helping, frankly, trailblaze, in a space as we drive more inclusion? Because I think that's going to have a behavior in the entrepreneurs we bring on board as well.
Yes, I think so. I'm going to tell you a fun story, which is I went to a women investor breakfast this morning, and there were 33 women. And they said 3 years ago there were 3. Wow. And so if you think about the growth, it's a unicorn, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What 300x. The thing that I found, so I've been a woman in tech for over a decade. It's always been a phenomenal, welcoming, high growth experience for me. And then coming into this space, I felt welcomed by the Atlanta community. Everyone, young, old, black, white, everyone has been welcoming. And so I think that really speaks to the future of Atlanta now, but also what we're growing. Yeah. And then I would say one of the things I'm personally focused on is how can we get more women-founded unicorns? How do we get 10 $1 billion companies founded by women in the next 10 years?
Yeah, and of course, speaking of with Sarah Blakely, of course, just had a
one. We checked one.
We got one. And by the way, as an example too, people say, I mean, that's a unicorn. So well, it's not a tech company. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is about growing. This is about entrepreneurism. So, what advice would you give women wanting to be a founder of a company, wanting to be, or maybe going to the VC or on the investment side? What advice? I guess really to anybody, but specifically to women.
The first thing, if you want to start a company and grow it, is pick a big market. Yeah. It's hard to build a company. You're going to work your butt off. whether it's a $10 million company or a $1 billion company. And if you pick a big idea in a big market, that's the first thing. And you can do that without changing anything about how hard you work or what you do.
Right.
So that would be the first thing, is pick a huge idea
Don't
in a huge
pick a market of one.
Yeah. A $10 million market, if you capture the whole market, is not a unicorn.
Exactly. So what do you see for Atlanta Ventures in the coming years, and then what do you see for Atlanta over the next decade in terms of where we're going?
It's so exciting.
And by the way, just to give credit here, I mean, Atlanta Ventures, while may not be sometimes not the biggest known name, but really between ATV, Atlanta Tech Village, and Atlanta Ventures has been really a fundamental part of the growth of this ecosystem. So thank you for that, because I mean, when you go back to some of the roots of everything that's happening now, clearly that's part of it, just like Tech Square has been part of it, and then we have more. But so what's new for Atlanta Ventures the next few years, and where does Atlanta go?
That's a big question, a great question.
Then I can tell other people. I want the answer from you.
So, thank you for the shout out to Atlanta Ventures. It really, I mean, there's so many people doing so many things, and that's what it takes, is everybody doing it. And that's what I think is special about Atlanta, is that everybody is rowing in the same direction, and that's why the 5 unicorns that were announced this week, in 5 years it's going to be 25 in a week. And I really believe that. And at Atlanta Ventures, we are continuing to empower entrepreneurs, invest early with capital, but also sharing knowledge, paying it forward. And one of the things that we've seen that's amazing is that the founders that are now seeing success are already investing back in the community as angel investors, and they're putting money into the next round of companies, money and time, time, expertise, meeting with them. And so when I look ahead, more unicorns, more entrepreneurs everywhere, more job creation, more inclusion, diversity in the generating of wealth and the sharing of the wealth.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. The capital, I think it's exciting to see not just our founders and the growth of entrepreneurs here in Atlanta, but also the growth of our investment ecosystem as well too. I think having more investors here. So Kathryn, it's great having you here. Thanks for everything you've been doing and you do for the Atlanta Innovation Ecosystem, and look forward to what's going to be coming ahead.
Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you so much for what you and Metro Atlanta Chamber do. No, it's amazing.
We just sell it,
No. You guys are at the forefront, bringing people together and sharing the story.
That's great. Well, thank you. And we will be back here live at the Atlanta Innovation Studio, powered by MailChimp, here at Venture Atlanta.